I've never been so physically comfortable and spiritually uncomfortable at the same time.
I'm so uncomfortable.
Hello darlings, it's Tess, and this video might be either the worst one I've ever made or the best. So yesterday, I bought a new water bottle, and my reflex is to decorate it with stickers, like I do to my hard drives and my laptop, and probably too many other things that I own. But then, from the depths of my brain, I remembered something that my cousins told me when I asked them what a VSCO girl was. And they said, among other things, that a VSCO girl usually has a reusable water bottle and she usually puts stickers on it. Alright. So I googled more about these creatures and I discovered something. I thought I had 0 things out of 100 in common with VSCO girls, and instead it's a solid 9.38 out of 100. They put stickers on their bottles, like I did with mine last year. I think you saw that in a vlog. Said bottle is now raggedy as hell, which is why we have the new one. A VSCO girl's hair is usually in a high bun, as is mine, because that's a good way to hide all the grease that accumulates in between hair washings, which are far further apart than a normal person's because this dye washes straight out if I wash my hair as much as I used to. So most of the time my head is just a fluorescent oil slick. Yum! VSCO girls like scrunchies though, apparently, and I prefer bows. I only have one scrunchie. They like Polaroids and disposable cameras. I took a huge amount of those kinds of photos when I was younger and really only stopped just because it's expensive to get the film. But it's super fun to document things that way. Off you go, little VSCO girls, and capture your memories on analog cameras as long as you want. They love rosewater spray, so do I. They go ham on metal straws and reusable cups, both of which I enjoy. Exhibit A, my coffee from today. There is so much sugar and caffeine in this cup that I'm pretty sure it could be reclassified as radioactive. Roll up, get a taste of this liquid bad decision. I read that most VSCO girls enjoy having their t-shirts be too big, and that's definitely the case for me too. Do they like having extra room in their clothes for activities?
I like having extra room in my clothes for activities!
I always buy them slightly too big because that means that whatever design or print on them isn't going to be warped and stretched. There's enough of me in this area for that to happen, and that's all the information you require about that.
That'll do.
Lastly, I hear sunscreen is a very big thing for VSCO girls. That suits me fine, it is for me too, we should all like sunscreen. But apparently for them it's a cute little aesthetic thing that goes with the beachy side of their style. But I hear they like the sort of little sunbum sunscreen stick that smells like coconut or something like that. I have the Cancer Council SPF 400 goddamn lacquer that could probably protect you from Chernobyl level radiation burns. Oi, Tess, don't make that joke. And I have to put so much on that I look like a solid Casper the Friendly Ghost when I'm done. Earlier this year, I was at a rally with my friends and I held my arm out into the sun to make a joke about how am I getting sunburnt, and my friends commented that it was actually reflecting back into their eyes and making them cringe. Oh, my eyes! My eyes! And you know what, my beloved Homo sapiens? They were right.
You know I'm right!
I looked down and there it was, all of my Anglo-Celtic heritage flashing back up directly into my corneas. You really don't need to be this mad about your sunscreen needs. None of these things that I already have are the real VSCO style though. Like, my stickers are all different rather than being matching, my big t-shirts are sort of band shirts rather than beachy ones, and my soul scrunchie is rainbow sequined. All the same, I just realized that the basic presence of these things, even if they're the wrong exact aesthetic, are close enough to accidental VSCO girl to make me question reality. Take a shot for all of my sarcastic hyperbole and you'll be dead in 5 minutes. Started with the sticker bottle, but let's take it a bit further. Let's dress up proper for this occasion. No one asked for this, it will be a cursed image, but let's have some good chats while I get ready. And by chats I mean I'll stand here and say things and pretend you're saying some back. I'm scared. Me being me, I just have to put some pretentious pep talk claptrap into this video. If you are like a baby teen and you're watching because VSCO videos make you laugh, just stay with me for a hot second. It's a bit much of me to assume that anyone is watching this at all, but if you are and you're younger than me and all of this types of stuff makes you feel weird, just hear me out. I want to have a moment about these kinds of personality stereotypes that get made. It's existed for a while with like cheerleader and nerd, etc. But I feel like with social media, it's gotten more insanely specific and so aesthetically exact. You can Google exactly what makes a VSCO girl or whatever other kind of thing. You see those starter packs or mood board things on Instagram that tell you exactly what a VSCO girl or an e-boy or a baddie or whatever, how that person is down to hair ties and Pantone color shades. Some of those board things are really beautiful, by the way. I'm not dragging them. Anyway, going through this classifying people and things game as a teen, and now I'm watching it as an adult, and it still just weirds me out. Like, something that I got classified as when I was young was alt, like short for alternative. Alternative to what? What in the yeet yoink is that supposed to mean? I understand what they meant visually, like I wore odd clothes, I watched weird movies, and I made art and creative things all the time, but so do so many other people. Anyway, my tea on all of this is that worrying about being or not being a certain thing will do your head in. I saw an article when I was researching for this video where a girl said, oh, I used to love, you know, blah 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 thing, but now I don't want to wear it anymore because I don't want people to think I'm a VSCO girl. Sweetheart, honey, darling, it's okay, just pull up. Also, side note, people making fun of VSCO girls or other kinds of girls is hugely to do with sexism. We don't hear a peep about VSCO boys or whatever the equivalent might be. One good criticism of VSCO style that I will acknowledge is its attachment to quite expensive things like, you know, fancy water bottles and freaking Jeeps and stuff like that. So if someone is using this style in that way to figure out who's rich and who isn't and do you have enough or do you not, then that would be bad, but that would have a lot more to do with the person rather than this style. There is no way every single girl in a big shirt I've seen for the last 6 months is some kind of nightmarish money bully. So, back to gender. The image and interests of girls and women are just so intensely policed, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, which sucks, so you may as well just do what makes you happy that harms no one. Some people might think that it's worth insulting, especially if that person's a boy.
Oh dear, I've said too much.
And they'll somehow try and make up any reason as to why what you're doing or what you're wearing affects them negatively when in reality it doesn't. They're just deciding to be the piece of Lego that you step on that day.
I'm very disappointed in your attitude.
Ask them genuinely, why do you care? As in, like, why do you care what I wear? Why do you care if I'm a VSCO girl or not, or if you are, or if you're not, or whatever the hell it is?
Talk to the hand, because I don't care.
And so often the person will just kind of splutter rather than having a real answer. I often did that back in the day and it would always catch people up. Because if you say, why do you care about what I'm doing? Often the only thing they can say is kind of, just because. But saying that out loud makes them realize how dumb it is. Sometimes they will have a slightly longer answer that they will deliver with an amount of conviction that makes you think you should have to take it seriously, but you still don't. Like, they might say, oh, you're a poser, you're just changing with trends. Instead of being your real self, like you're just doing what's fashionable. Or some other charming line. People who say that are so boring. But if that bothers you, here's the tea from someone who's out the other side of all of the teenage games. Shifting through styles and interests is literally how you become your real self. Sticking to one thing forever just because, even if you're outgrowing it, just does nobody any good.
Oh no!
Like, I might have found my alt, weird girl, put a word on it kind of style when I was relatively young, but that's just a lottery, really. It doesn't make me any better or worse than somebody else who goes through a number of things in order to find what they like best. I had a bunch of friends who did that. It made me love them more.
I love you all.
Evolving is what you're supposed to do.
You nice, keep going.
Think of how many people you've overheard discussing what they wanted to study and how they weren't sure about it.
No. Well,
this happens all the time.
Be who you are.
Clothes and Instagram and stuff like that matter a whole lot less than all of the careers and values type things. So isn't it weird that we seem to be in this place where you will get more flack and more trouble and more passive aggressive comments for changing up your clothes according to a trend than you will for making a much more drastic decision in regards to something serious. Like, that's really weird. VSCO girl today, punk tomorrow, retro pin-up the day after, who cares? Don't worry about whether changes are good or bad at your age, they're just happening. They might change because of trends around you, or they might change depending on your mood that day. Being energetic and loving and engaged with the magic of this world, that is what matters. Big shirt, small shirt, scrunchies, no scrunchies. Go to bed tonight and be proud that you are exactly who you are.
Who could ask for anything more? Who could ask for anything more?
Okay, I'm definitely gonna stop being your mum / older sister / opinionated older cousin now, I promise.
Time has come, the walrus said, to talk of other things.
Wouldn't it be sick if I could just cartwheel out of this frame right now? I'm not good at cartwheels. Someone I know once tried to teach me how to do one, but I'm still not very good at it. This is my white striped shirt, which happens to be VSCO girl size. I am wearing shorts under this, don't worry. The bun is messy and the scrunchie is in. Oh, and these Birkenstocks are my mum's. Okay, well I should probably add more of everything. I put too much cordial in this. Oh, I hate sunscreen. I love how I just put this on for real even though I'm inside.
What the devil is going on?
Okay, this has been sufficiently awkward. Let's sticker this bottle up, shall we? I am to understand that there are two main expressions that VSCO girls use.
It is a very good word. Am I right, Bert?
Tell them what it is.
Right.
And the other one,
It's... What in the world was that?
Alright, let's break this down.
Let's go.
So you probably know that "and I ooh" comes from a YouTube video by the drag queen Jasmine Masters, who stops mid-sentence while she's talking because she hurts herself.
For a couple of hours, and
Like, I have definitely sent some article about something really serious and terrible to one of my friends and not known what to say, so I just say "and I ooh" as though to represent that I was trying to go about my day and then remembered what a state the world is actually in. And I ooh, capitalism. And I ooh, climate change. And I ooh, anything. See? So I've seen this expression travel from gay internet drag humor through, I don't know, nihilistic black humor, ridiculous university student, or whatever the sphere is that you want to say that myself and my friends belong to. And now it's gone into the lexicon of regular teenage girls. I really think this is a perfect example for someone who's writing a PhD about modern language shifts. And as for
I don't know what that means either.
I felt about 100 when I had to Google what the hell it meant.
I'm old, Gandalf.
It's an imitation of "I'm so excited that I'm gonna smash the keyboard on my phone." Now, I understand that completely. The version of that over the years of people my age is that we started doing it on regular computer keyboards. So instead of that are next to each other on a phone, so if you go like that, that's what you get. Ours were more like A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, A, like that, right? So I'm not judging this one at all when it's written because I did it too. It's just maybe a bit much to actually say it out loud, but then again, is a lot easier to say than ASDF. No, that's not gonna work. No ma'am.
No ma'am, no ma'am, no ma'am.
Seriously though, before my Googling, I saw and immediately thought of this SNL bit where Kristen Wiig is doing an impression of Drew Barrymore.
And if I had a girl, I would name her... It's a family name that my grandfather John Barrymore made up by falling asleep on an old typewriter.
Seriously, for a hot second, I thought maybe this had become a meme in the VSCO community. Yeah, an ultra-specific SNL line from a good few years ago has become beloved by a bunch of 13 and 14-year-old internet users. Sure, Tess, that makes sense.
No ma'am.
While we continue with our VSCO stickering session, I'll tell you a few more random things that are on my mind as of today.
So many things.
First, how I got this bottle. It was originally pink.
Oh, so pretty.
And it had a scratch on it. And upcycle it into something that I know I want rather than it being tossed into garbage because nobody wants it. Well, in a way it is actually tossed with the garbage because I've got it. That siren's definitely for me. So I painted it purple, what else? And sealed it with a couple of coats of my absolute favorite, very, very, very good for craft, but terrible for your lungs, Crystal Coat Gloss Varnish Sealing Spray. So it looks normal enough, but let me tell you, the circumstances in which this bottle found me were noteworthy.
Fasten your seatbelts.
So, yesterday, my friend Luca and I get off the bus from our university, where we had complained at length about every kind of academic stress. I do feel like the universe overheard us and said, we need to find a way to distract these two socialist, anxious pinecone children.
You've been reading those communist newspapers again.
So let's create some kind of bizarre discount shop for them to get distracted by and go into and feel like they're living in a simulation.
Everything is so confusing.
We wandered around in there for about half an hour, constantly repeating, what is happening, and I'm scared.
I am scared.
Because the assortment of products was so random, but also so cheap. Like $1 chocolate bars, but only 3 kinds. $3 Supreme shirts, a metric crap load of Australian souvenirs for tourists, baskets full of cuddly toys, and actually really solid looking suitcases with wheels that were at about 1/8 of the price that you would usually pay for a suitcase like that. It all seemed too good to be true, and so that kind of meant we felt like it was a ploy where if we fell for it and bought something, our fingerprints, our retina scans, and our bank information would be taken and used for nefarious purposes.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Who knows? This bottle might be spying on me, and Luca's t-shirt might be sneaking threads under his skin to steal his DNA. I feel like this bun isn't messy enough for a VSCO girl.
I'm a mess.
Oh, stay there, you bastard. I've decided that the expression under my wing, as in I'll take he, she, person, whatever, under my wing to kind of mean looking after them. Duckling under wing, that is how all of us should be treating each other at every stage of life. For additional and far superior duck-related content, please watch John Mulaney's The Comeback Kid comedy special on Netflix, because he tells a spectacular story about overhearing an old guy say,
And when one feels like a duck, one is happy!
and I would like to say, absolutely yes, sir. So last night I was taking off my socks and they did not match as usual, and I found this single really old one way at the back of my drawer. It was one of my old knee-high school socks from high school. Seems fine, but then as I'm taking this goddamn sock off that evening, the elasticness of it caught up with me, and as I tried to get it off my foot, it flicked itself so politely straight into the toilet. And I had to fish it out immediately and then wash it 8 times in order to be remotely comfortable. That's the level of non-function that we're up to at this moment, boys and girls.
This is fine.
Another update that you might require is that I cannot get the song Boujee Natives by Snotty Nose Rez Kids out of my head. And that song slaps.
I got turquoise on my red. We the Boujee Natives.
But it's a pretty big problem when you are so emphatically not a Boujee Native. Like, reinsert the story about my white, literally reflective skin if you need to. These two rappers are just awesome and badass, and they're indigenous to Canada. When a thing is stuck in your head, what do you automatically do? You wander around singing it under your breath. I'm going to the bathroom and muttering to myself, we them Boujee Natives. I got topaz on my wrist. No, Tess. You are not a Boujee Native.
It's just weird. Stop it.
Here is something suitably European for me to have in my head. I love yodeling because it is something that is immensely difficult to do, but it sounds so goddamn silly. You can't think of many things that are actually like that. Like someone who's an amazing sculptor creates Venus, it's Adam, it's Winged Victory, whatever it is. So it's such an achievement for them if they know how to do it, but they just sound like cartoon ducks to the rest of us.
Why are you mentioning ducks so often in this video?
Like, that is why I love and respect them so much. Like, there's this fabulous video that's ages old of this woman like yodeling like classical music overtures. It's honestly the greatest thing ever. Also, a lot of yodeling is only to like upbeat, happy, cool, folksy music. So it means even if you're listening and kind of laughing at it, it's still impossible not to have your mood pick up. Like, try and watch this guy and not smile. Now, speaking of laughter, 3 things have been heavily on my mind recently that has brought me to the I'm staring at the shower wall alone at 11 p.m. but I'm literally crying with laughter. First of all, I think Joana Ceddia's most significant contribution to the vast milieu of internet comedy is this.
The mitochondria is not the powerhouse of the cell. I am.
I've seen very few things that are this perfect. I mean, the way she enters the room with a bow and arrow for no reason, the bow and the arrow hit the walls of her door loudly and she continues on anyway. She nearly trips over, she's wearing sunglasses indoors, and then she barrels towards the camera and says, "The mitochondria is not the powerhouse of the cell. I am." Your fave could never. I'm prepared to cop some flack for this. The best Graham Norton show guest in history is Miriam Margolyes. You know why? If there are, shall we say, crude aspects of that story, which there often are with her, it means that those details are being spoken about with the expression and diction of this Shakespearean Dickensian queen. Like, a perfect example is that she will use the words, "I'm dying to go to the lavatory." Those exact words with that exact accent, but then the story that she goes on to tell is this.
So I flew into the loo and I had this enormous you know. It didn't go down. And then I made this terrible mistake. I flushed the loo again. Not only didn't it go down, it sort of bubbled up to meet me, you know. I didn't know what to do, so I backed out of the loo, closed the door, and I went in, and instead of saying, you know, "How do you do? It's lovely to meet you. I've always wanted to meet you," and all that sort of thing, I said, "I've blocked the loo with my I don't know what to do."
Have you ever heard anything better? You haven't. Total and complete cognitive dissonance between the content of the story and the voice telling it. And the last of today's pointless observations is that when you eat the Pop Rocks candy, what you are experiencing is a tactile and taste-based version of how a television looks when it's on the blink. Which, as we all know from a very useful internet post, is a visual representation of how it feels when you get pins and needles. I love that these observations are as specific as they are, and yet millions of us all understand them. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Who knew that pins and needles in your foot and Pop Rocks in your mouth could be so closely related if you think of them through the metaphor of a broken television? This video needs to end. What the hell am I talking about? So, I hope you've enjoyed the world's most unnecessary VSCO girl transformation. I hope you think the stickers are pretty, and I hope that my ranting, both serious and silly, has put a smile on your face and or a thought in your head. I hope you now know that you are worthy of expressing yourself in whatever way or ways make you happy. or at least given you something entertaining to watch on the toilet. Subscribe for more of my chaos and well-meant pep talks about your inherent worth. Sweet dreams, lima beans. I love you. Keep going.